No, impressive than me. I have lots of
I saw you.
no. I worked here. I and that's relevant. So, it was just like I tried to see my and give it to the so I'll do it, and then I just can't bend up.
All right, perfect. I don't know. Oh, you know what? Can you switch seats? And that way I can get the witness and am I sitting in that one? Oh, we got one person on now. All right, it should be better acoustics too because we got you right by the witness. Come on. You may proceed.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Lucy Weber, and I am prosecutor representing the state. You're here today to show that Andrew Madison is guilty of assaulting a member of the police force, disorderly conduct, and assault and battery. Andrew Madison was on school grounds with a knife and stabbed the officer Kevin Bates. This is an established fact. During the trial today, you will see many exhibits of evidence, including Exhibit A, Andrew Madison's pocket knife, Exhibit B, Andrew Madison's academic transcript, and Exhibit D, Officer Kevin Bates' transcripts. These pieces of evidence will show that Madison is truly a dangerous kid and had the intention of harming the police officer. The evidence will also show that Kevin Bates is a well-rounded officer and has many great qualities. It will also show that Bates was only trying to protect himself and his colleagues. You'll see many witnesses today. You'll see Kevin Bates, the officer who was stabbed in his upper right leg. Kevin Bates has over 10 years of experience as a police officer. You'll see Madison himself, who's going to say that he did have the knife, and he did resist not to the orders. You will see the two counselors of Roosevelt High. Mark Snell, a former Roosevelt High counselor, who has had over 20 years of experience. He worked with Madison for a while, and will testify that he's a dangerous kid and that he has some behavioral issues. You will hear from the current high school counselor, Peter Carter, who has worked only with him for a couple of years. We will question Teresa Major, Bates' co-officer, who was there the night of the crime and is testifying guilty. And lastly, you will have Jamie Lincoln, Madison's friend, who was also there the night of the crime. Madison has been charged with 3 crimes: assault on a member of the police force, assault and battery, and disorderly conduct. The state will prove that Madison is guilty and these charges by talking to Madison himself, looking at and observing evidence, and hearing from people who have witnessed the event and his behavior. This case will prove that Madison is guilty of all crimes. Thank you. May I be seated, Your Honor?
You may. Any questions from the jury? All right, defense opening.
May I question, Your Honor?
You may.
Hello, I'm Allison Euler, and me and my co-counsel Addison Brewster are the defense representing Andrew Madison. We are here today because my client has been charged with the following crimes: assault on member of police force, and disorderly conduct. Now, Andrew Madison is a good kid. He was a student at Roosevelt High, and he and his friend Jamie Lincoln were hanging out across the street from the school after the spring dance when Officer Bates and Officer Major approached them. Officer Bates claims he saw Andrew Madison reach into his pocket for a knife and take it out. Officer Bates lunged at Andrew Madison, injuring both of them and breaking Andrew Madison's wrist. And in the end of this, Andrew Madison ended in the ground with his hands in cuffs. Today we are going to prove that not only is Andrew Madison not guilty, but the charges against him are outrageous and have been blown way out of proportion. During the course of this trial, you will see Exhibit B, Andrew Madison's academic transcript. This will clearly show you that Andrew Madison is a good kid who has been working harder on improving his grades and staying out of trouble. Therefore, he is not a dangerous angry kid. You will also see Exhibit A, Andrew Madison's pocket. This will show you that his pocket knife that he carried was legal. And Officer Bates, as a trained member of law enforcement, should have been able to see and identify that as a legal knife. Next, we will show you Evidence E, the civilian complaint form. This will show you that Andrew Madison, once again, is a good kid who would not purposely harm or injure anyone. It also provides intel that after the scuffle, Madison walked away looking like he got out of a very harsh fight, and Officer Bates walked away with barely even a scratch. The witnesses that the defense will call to stand to testify today include Peter Carter, Jamie Lincoln, and Andrew Madison. First, we'll call Peter Carter to stand, Andrew Madison's current counselor who has been working with him since sophomore year. He will clearly testify that my client is a good kid who would not purposely hurt or harm anyone, especially a member of law enforcement. Next, we'll call Jamie Lincoln. Jamie Lincoln is Andrew Madison's friend who was present with him during the scuffle. She will explain how her and Madison were just reaching into their pockets to show the officers their IDs when one of them grabbed Madison's arm and started yelling. Finally, we will call Andrew Madison. He will explain how he and his friend were just hanging out after the spring dance when Officer Bates approached him and began threatening to arrest him when he did not properly ID himself. He will bring light to the situation, ensure that all charges pressed against him are wrong. We ask that you find the defendant not guilty on all charges. Thank you. May I proceed to adjourn?
You may. Might I remind the gallery that we can't applaud in this courtroom, but no matter how good the speeches are. But good job openings on both sides. Did you match today on purpose? Tell me that you did. Oh, fine. You may call your first witness, prosecutors.
Your Honor, we would like to call Mark Snow to the stand.
Mark Snow, you may approach. And see the bailiff.
Do you swear to tell the truth, only the truth, and nothing but the truth? So help me 20.
There you go. You may be seated. You may proceed, counselor.
Could you state your name and occupation?
Mark Snow, Madison's family counselor.
Can you tell us how long you have been working?
Over 20 years. Over 20 years.
Where do you work?
Roosevelt High School.
Could you tell us how many students you have worked with?
Countless students.
So you are very experienced in your field.
Yes.
Could you tell us who is the worst student you have ever had the displeasure of working with?
Andrew Madison.
Your Honor, I would like to enter Exhibit B.
Bailiff? So you give it to the bailiff. All right, for the jury, this is Exhibit B. This is Andrew Madison's transcript and disciplinary record.
Could you tell us to our left from Madison Summer School? We cannot find them. They're at the top.
There was one suspension, 4 detentions, and 3 books. There was trouble adjusting to the new school, and
I apologize. Could you repeat one top of it?
Andrew seems to be having. Is that it?
oh yeah,
Andrew seems
he seems to be having trouble adjusting to the new school.
he has gotten.
He has gotten into a number of fights and talked back to his teachers. He was also suspended for 3 days for partially violent incident with another student who was also suspended. He's been working on his anger management.
Could you tell us how many suspensions and detentions and one he has gotten in the first 2 years that are shown on the report?
There has been 1 suspension, 6 detentions, and 3 warnings.
Your Honor, I would like to enter Exhibit B.
Okay. I'm going to grab Exhibit B from you. We're good there.
So how many years in your countless years and students you have worked with, do you think it would take for a student to change from this kind of behavior?
Many years.
Do you believe Andrew? I apologize. How many years do you think it would have taken the student as well as Andrew Matheson to change?
Many more years than I've worked with him.
So you do not believe he could have changed to truly turn over a new leaf? Has Andrew Madison gotten into fights?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd like to present Exhibit A.
Bailey. I'm going to give this to the jury as we get them, okay? So this is Andrew Madison's knife that was with him at the scene.
Could you tell us if you ever have seen Andrew Madison with this knife?
I've never seen this knife.
Do you believe he has the capabilities of using this knife?
Yes, I do believe his full capabilities.
Do you believe so? And since you've never seen it, do you believe he has used it outside of school in fights?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd like to enter Exhibit A. Okay. Mark Snow, could you tell us, do you believe Andrew Matheson has committed this crime?
Yes.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, you may be seated. Cross. Yeah, and give it to the jury after you look at it.
So Madison, is it correct you were Andrew Madison's former counselor?
Yes.
And is it true that a few weeks after meeting with Andrew Madison, you started to warm up?
Yes.
And would you say that you guys were friendly acquaintances at the time?
Yes.
And do you believe in second chances?
Yes.
All right. So when Andrew Madison got into a fight and you claimed any sweetness you had seen from him was gone, did you continue to meet with him?
Yes.
Okay. So would you believe this is a sign that you believe in second chances?
Yes.
All right. And is it true you have never witnessed an assault on an adult?
No.
And is it true that Andrew Madison will graduate on time and takes AP courses?
No. Yes.
Yes, it is true.
Yes.
Honored members of the jury, I would just like to add that Andrew is noted to have visible disdain for authority. It was never noted, and I repeat, never noted, that he is violent to authority figures. May I receive?
You may. You can redirect. You can call your next witness.
I would like to redirect, Your Honor.
All right, you may proceed.
Could you tell us if you ever have seen Andrew Madison fight with other students?
Yes.
Do you believe he will attack authorities if he feels threatened?
Yes.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, witness is excused.
Your Honor, I would like to call Teresa Major to the stand.
Officer Major, you may approach
May I proceed?
after Officer Major gets sworn in.
You swear to tell the truth, only the truth, and nothing but the truth? Help me.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
You may.
Please state your name and occupation.
I'm Teresa Major, and I am a police officer.
How long have you been working with Officer Kevin Bates?
Over a year.
How would you describe Bates as a partner?
A good and hardworking person.
Could you elaborate on your relationship with Bates?
I would say we are a good team together.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, prosecution would like to introduce evidence exhibit D.
Bailey? All right, this is Officer Kevin Bates' Des Moines Police Department personnel form.
Teresa, what would you like to explain about this?
So There is a 1 to 5 test rating for basically how well you do. 1 being the best, and 5 being the worst. Officer Bates's best is 1.6 for professionalism and reability. His overall average is 2.4.
So would you say that he is an above average police officer?
Yes.
How would you describe Bates as an officer?
A nice person.
As an officer?
A hardworking person who can get the job done.
In his report, he had a few complaints from people about using too much force. Can you describe an incident where you have seen that?
No.
So in the year that you have been working with him, there have been no overly violent incidents. What would you say about Bates' growth and development from those incidents?
Well, I haven't seen it.
So you'd say that he has changed from his previously violent ways?
You have to vocalize your answer for the jury.
No further questions, John.
You may be seated. Cross.
Jury, just a quick note that I mentioned or observed in her direct examination. Teresa Major answered that Officer Bates would be an officer that would get the job done. I would just like you to take into consideration what would he do or go to the extent of to get the job done.
Detaining them.
I think it was rhetorical, but it's all good.
So you are the partner of Officer Bates, correct? And you have been working with Officer Bates for a year? In your witness statement, you mentioned Officer Bates having complaints about the use of excessive force. Is this correct?
Yeah, say that loud.
Is it true you and Officer Bates did not ask if Andrew and his friends were students before asking for their IDs? Because really, none of this would have happened if you first asked them if they were students.
Objection, Your Honor. We're going to rise to object. What's your objection?
Speculation. We cannot speculate what could have happened. We only know what has happened, and this is what this whole court case is about.
What was the question?
I was just pointing out that if they had asked if they went to students at Roosevelt High School first, maybe they wouldn't have gotten to a fight.
I think this witness would have knowledge of that if they were there. So the question they're asking you is, if you had asked for ID first, would this incident have taken place? Right?
They did ask for it.
They did ask for ID.
Okay, so what was the question? If they had
asked if they were students.
Oh, if you had asked the two Jamie Lincoln and Andrew Madison if they were students before approaching them, would that have
affected you having to use force to detain them?
you gotta say out loud?
And would you say stabbing Andrew Madison was a result of Officer Bates' excessive force? And you followed Officer Bates when he mentioned the kids across the street. Is this correct? And these kids, who you later find out are Madison and Lincoln, were across the street from school. Is this correct?
Yeah.
So they were not on school property then? They were not on school property. And so, members of the jury, this just shows how Madison has a legal right to carry a Swiss Army knife. And because he wasn't on school property, because he knew the rules. And you asked for their IDs. And when Madison begins to reach for his pocket, you said in your statement that you thought he was going to pull out his wallet. Am I right? And is it true that Andrew's hand was in his pocket when Officer Bates called to see something? And so is it true that Andrew never got a chance to pull out his ID before Officer Bates assaulted him? Okay. And then you mentioned Officer Bates and Andrew Madison wrestling. Do you think there could have been a possibility that while wrestling, the knife cut Officer Bates?
Yes.
And then we have mentioned earlier that Officer Bates has a history of use of excessive force. And would you say that breaking Andrew Madison's wrist and causing him to receive a puncture wound was use of his excessive force?
No.
Okay. At this time, Your Honor, we would like to introduce into evidence Exhibit E, the civilian complaint.
Ladies and gentlemen, the jury, this is a civilian complaint report made by Lisa Madison, the mother of the accused.
Could you please read the highlighted parts?
Andrew looked like he had been jumped, but Officer Bates didn't look like anything happened to him.
No further questions, Your Honor.
You may be seated.
Your Honor, I would like to read it.
You may proceed. I'm sure we're passing these along to the other jury member.
Those are the old.
Officer Teresa, is it true that Kevin Bates was stabbed in the leg?
Yes.
So you would not say that Kevin Bates walked away without a scratch on him, like noted in the opening? And would you say, was there a knife attached to Madison's wallet?
Yes.
So Bates was correct to assume that there was a knife and that he was in potential harm's way.
Yes.
No further questions.
This is excused. Prosecution, you can call your last witness.
Your Honor, I would like to call Kevin Bates to the stand.
Officer Bates, you may approach.
Swear to tell the truth. Swear to tell the truth, only the truth, and nothing but the truth.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
You may.
Please state your name and occupation.
I'm Kevin Bates and I'm an officer.
Why were you asked to patrol the night?
Because there's been reports of harassment close to school grounds.
Do you know the times in which the harassments have been happening? If so, please state.
8 to 9 and 3 to 4.
Do you know what time you first spotted Madison on the street corner?
3:30.
Mr. Bates, what was Madison doing by the school that night?
He was harassing kids and was talking loudly and to kids coming out of school.
Can you explain to us what their backpacks look like?
They weren't wearing any backpacks.
So explain to me how you know that they were students.
I didn't know they were students.
How many times did you ask Madison to get his ID out?
Multiple times.
When did he eventually get his ID?
When we had to threaten him to get his ID.
Explain to me what you saw when he started to walk.
I saw a specific or suspicious silver object.
Where were you stabbed?
Upper leg.
No further questions, Your Honor. May I proceed to your Honor?
You may. Cross.
On August 27th, the principal of Roosevelt High School told you to ask you to patrol the school grounds to make sure non-students were not harassing or vandalizing school property. Correct?
Yes.
And is it true that Andrew and Lincoln, when first sighted, they were on 42nd and Center Street?
Yes.
So they were not on school grounds.
No.
And would you agree with me, the only thing the students were doing was talking loudly to other students?
I saw them harassing.
Objection, yes or
No.
no? And your job was to patrol school grounds then?
Yes.
Okay. And so the first time you saw them, you just passed them and went on your way.
Yes.
Did you know they were students at Roosevelt High School?
No.
For your second time passing this location, were the same people still present?
No.
All right. And did you believe that Andrew Madison and Jimmy Lincoln were non-students when you first saw them?
Yes.
So you assumed they were non-students?
No. No.
Did you think they were students when you approached them?
No.
Good there?
When you made your patrol around the area of Madison and his friends the second time, you ended up asking them for their IDs. Correct.
Yes.
And isn't it true true that you threatened to arrest the students before they said it?
No.
Are you aware of the DM code 11-252?
No.
Well, it defines the reasons that a law enforcement officer can arrest an individual without a warrant. And here they are. You have a reason to believe that Andrew Madison had committed a felony.
Yes.
Did you have a reason to believe Andrew Madison was destroying or vandalizing property?
Yes.
So you had. All right then. I would really like to know what your evidence is. When my client reached into his pocket to get his ID, did you see the Swiss Army pocket knife?
Yes.
But isn't it true you failed to see the object in the incident report? However, in your statement, you knew right away that it was enough.
No.
So are you going against your own word in the incident report?
No.
So it is true that you failed to see the object.
Yes.
And so instead of requesting to see exactly what the object was, you used excessive force to try and obtain it from Andrew.
No, it wasn't excessive. It was
Objection. Yes or no?
no.
Members of the jury. DM Code 3-14 states that any officer who uses unnecessary or excessive force in arresting or imprisoning any personnel shall be deemed guilty of assault and battery. And did you know that the Swiss Army pocket knife Andrew Madison had is not illegal?
Oh.
Did you know it's legal for him to have it? Off the school property.
No. Or, no.
At this time, the defense would like to introduce evidence exhibit A, Andrew Madison's pocket knife.
All right, you've already got a copy of this, jurors, but it's the same copy you have there.
Please read it, the highlights first.
The Swiss Army knife. Swiss Army knives are not illegal.
And so you said that you were not aware that it was legal.
No.
And as a trained member of law enforcement, you still did not know that this knife was legal in Illinois, and Andrew Madison had a right to carry it.
Objection, Your Honor. You're saying, at the time, Kevin Bates was not aware that this was a Swiss Army knife. So he had no idea whether or not it was legal. He had no idea what the object really was.
What's your response to that?
All right. But instead of simply asking Andrew Madison to show you the knife, you decided to tackle him, injuring him and yourself in the process to find out what the object was.
He wasn't cooperative. No, he wasn't cooperating.
Objection. Yes.
So what was the question?
It was, instead of simply asking to see what the object was, you used excessive force.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay once again. He didn't use excessive force to find out what the object was. He did not use excessive force at all. He used the required force to protect him and the people around him and Andrew to protect them.
So we need the witness to say that. So you your question again.
Instead of simply asking to see what the object was, you tackled him instead.
He wasn't cooperating, and I.
Yes or no?
Say no.
No.
Okay. In your statement, you were unclear and unspecific about what happened in the scuffle or how you and Madison got your injuries. Is it possible that after you tackled my client, you used a force that caused him injury?
No.
Are you sure? There is absolutely no chance. So you do not think that breaking my client's wrist was a use of too much force?
No, it was self-defense.
All right. At this point in time, Your Honor, we would like to introduce evidence consisting of Exhibit C of police report.
2 minutes? All right. This is a police report. You have not seen this one yet, juror, but you'll see him soon.
Please, first page, the word highlighted.
Highlighted where? In pink. Classification of event. Type of resort. Offense. Blank. Incident. X.
And so is it true that this event is classified as an incident?
Yes.
Okay, read the next highlighted.
Victim information. The name of the victim was Officer Kevin Bates. And do I read the start highlighted part too?
Yes.
Okay. Puncture wound to arm.
Is it true you asked Andrew for his ID?
Yes.
Isn't it true people carry their ID in all different pockets?
Yes.
Isn't it entirely possible that Andrew Madison was reaching for his ID?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Is it true that in the report it states the officers saw something shiny? However, the next sentence states the officer moved to prevent the object from coming out of his pocket.
Is that right?
Yes.
So isn't it true there are many shiny things?
Yes, but it was proven in
Yes or no
tonight.
question.
Yes.
And it's true you classified the puncture wound as a gash, and this was your own injury.
Yes.
And it's true you broke Andrew's wrist.
Yes.
How much more you have?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, we'll continue cross tomorrow. We'll continue
my
cross
God,
tomorrow.
bro.
Look out, she's got more for you.
I'd be so mad if someone did that to
You,
me.
good job. If you went today, I can give you feedback, or you can get it tomorrow. Good trial going on. Feedback. Okay, Allie. Amazing eye contact, very emotional, very memorized. That was totally memorized. Very high word choice. Using gesture. Very good. Very thorough, good performance. The only grow I can see is like if you're really bold to like step away from the podium.
I was gonna do that, but
I
then
saw
I
you think about
didn't
it.
know if I was allowed to have that.
It's all good. You get exceeding, okay, for your presentation.
Okay.
You're doing a good job.
Yeah, I feel like I touched my hair too much.
That's okay. That's very common tip. Humvee, you started off being memorized. I saw you pulled your phone out a few times, but you tried to do it kind of off the top of your head.
I tried to open the Google Docs,
That was cool.
but like it went a little too fast.
Words like the displeasure, that was a good word that you used. And you tried some kind of redirects and